Well, let's get to some more reactions from the Great Hall of the People on the Chinese government's work report. Our reporter, Martina Fuchs, was there from the early morning hours and filed this report.
This is it, hot off the press. The government work report presented by Premier Li Keqiang in Beijing on Sunday. Versions are both available in Chinese and in English. Now let me talk to some lawmakers and advisors here to hear their views and thoughts about this year's report.
Looking at the previous 2 months, we are very optimistic that the Chinese economy is recovering and is gaining steam again.
China's economic outlook is on everybody's minds, and of course the top headline of the day is GDP growth of around 6.5% or higher if possible in practice.
The targets of GDP growth and military expenses are normal and good, so they will fulfill the target.
The living standard of the average person and the living environment for everyone must be improved. That is very important now.
The feedback I got from NPC delegates and the media was largely positive, but more widely watched now will be how all of these reforms will get implemented. Martina Fuchs at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing.
Well, let's get you more perspective on the importance of the two sessions. We're joined live now from our Johannesburg studios by Dr. Bob Wekesa. He is a postdoctoral fellow at the China-Africa Reporting Project based at Wits University in Johannesburg. Dr. Wekesa, thanks for your time. Now, of course, we know that many people around the world will be keeping an eye on these sessions there that are taking place in Beijing. Just talk us through what the main issues pertaining to Africa might be.
I think with regards to Africa, one is that like the rest of the world, when the two sessions are underway, Africa is also keenly looking at what it portends for its own economic, political and cultural possibilities and potentials. With particular respect to Africa is the fact that these sessions come slightly over a year since the last forum on China-Africa cooperation that was held here in Johannesburg in 2015. There's been already over 1 year of implementation of the FOCAC action plans. And therefore, Africans will be looking at a quick review of how that implementation has been undertaken across various economic spheres, and then look forward at how the Chinese leaders look to implement the rest of the action plans for the following 2 years. And therefore, they'll be looking to see what benefits they can gain across the economic spheres in terms of implementation of the joint mechanism known as the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation.
And indeed, Dr. Wekesa, one of the most pressing concerns for Africa at the moment is the famine being experienced in various parts of the continent. We've seen a rather strong international response. Are we likely to see China also give when it comes to the famine, particularly in places like South Sudan?
No, definitely so. I mean, China has always been a friend of Africa in thick and thin. When the chips are down, when things are up looking and so forth. So clearly we can see lots of humanitarian assistance from China towards South Sudan and other famine ravaged countries. You will remember that throughout the droughts that have hit the continent, particularly the Sahel regions, places such as northern Kenya, parts of Ethiopia, Somalia and so on. In the past, consistently, China has sent in donations to help alleviate the effects of the droughts and the failure of rains and the whole panorama of climate change. And so we expect that this time round again, China will step in with humanitarian assistance. Indeed, if you look at it from a wider perspective, China is already involved in sending peacekeeping troops to South Sudan because to some extent the current famine is caused by the warfare there. I mean the conflict that has been going on for nearly 4 years now. So the peacekeeping initiative that China undertakes in itself seeks to stabilize the country so that agricultural activity can take off. But in the meantime, because the famine is hitting at the present time, I think we'll expect to see China using, in fact, its peacekeeping mechanism on the ground to deliver relief food to the people that are devastated by this unfortunate development.
Well, thank you very much for that analysis, Dr. Bob Wekesa, joining us live there from Johannesburg.